For some, he is the living embodiment of the American dream. For others, the ultimate nightmare of the global establishment. The man who broke every rule in the book, moved diplomacy to social media, and somehow managed to claim every seat they called impossible. You know him by his fire and fury tweets, his signature moves at rallies, or his stormy walks through the halls of the White House. But today, we look at the other side of the coin, to the days before the spotlights were this bright. This is the story of an ambitious young man who rose from the dusty construction sites of Queens to conquer the glass towers of Manhattan, a gambler who transformed from the brink of bankruptcy into a media icon, and a master of manipulation who cracked the code of the masses. This is the story of Donald Trump. As the calendar marked January 20th, 2025, the U.S. Capitol played host to one of the most striking moments in history. Every figure who once deemed his existence impossible, from Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos to Mark Zuckerberg, and even his arch-rivals Obama and Harris, was there, standing as witnesses to Trump's second ascension. In truth, this was a story of a world surrender. Having weathered countless criticisms, historic boycotts, and even 2 impeachment trials, the man who shattered every never was back at the presidential podium. That day, Trump hadn't just won an election. By drawing the titans of the global establishment into his frame of victory, he had redefined the very center of power.
So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Donald Trump, whose name you can see towering over buildings in metropolises as far-flung as Istanbul, holds the titles of the oldest, wealthiest, and most media-centric president in American political history. He is the leader who wields social media like a weapon, upending the global agenda in mere seconds with a single post, and implementing the most aggressive sanction policies on a global scale. When people are asked to summarize the image he has cultivated in 3 words, the collective memory echoes with these answers.
I am officially running.
Unbounded wealth, unshakable ruthlessness, and limitless fame. In the pages he penned years ago, Trump defined his own character with these words: I pride myself on being headstrong, stubborn, and tough. I believe these are the most vital traits of successful people. To me, passion is far more important than brainpower or talent. I have seen many brilliant and gifted individuals fail simply because they lack that inner fire. They are what I call idea people, and quite frankly, I am not one of them. In 1946, in the Queens district of New York, just a short distance from the famous skyline of Manhattan, a baby named Donald John Trump opened his eyes to the world. Raised in a massive mansion with 23 rooms and 9 bathrooms, Donald was the 4th of 5 children. His mother, Mary, was a Scottish immigrant known for her philanthropic work. His father, Fred, was an ambitious developer who turned New York's post-war urbanization wave into an opportunity, building vast housing complexes for the middle class. Fred Trump had built more than just buildings. He had constructed a fortune. Born into this wealth, Donald technically became a landowner at the age of 3, and by 8, he was a millionaire capable of paying his own nanny's salary. However, Fred didn't just raise his children with money, he raised them with a programmed-to-win toughness. From the age of 10, Donald began swallowing the dust of construction sites, learning the inner workings of the trade by his father's side. As one might expect, Donald was a turbulent and unstoppable child. During his adolescence, he went as far as punching a music teacher who called him spoiled. This uncontrollable rage drove his family to a radical decision. At the age of 13, Donald was sent to the New York Military Academy. Intriguingly, this discipline camp ruled by bullying, violence, and relentless competition was exactly what Trump was looking for. There, he didn't just gain discipline, he etched a fixation on being number one into his character. By the time he graduated as a captain, he had only one rule: win at any cost and make sure everyone knows it. Upon returning to civilian life, his father entrusted him with a 52-unit apartment building to gain experience. Yet, young Donald had neither buildings nor ranks on his mind. His only dream was to become a major film producer in Hollywood.
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
Let me be the judge of that.
Are you bagging her?
Huh?
I like keeping a low profile.
But in those years, America was sinking into the bloody quagmire of the Vietnam War. Unwilling to go to the front, Donald transferred to the University of Pennsylvania to defer his military service. His entry into this prestigious school would be the subject of much debate years later, with allegations suggesting he had someone else take the entrance exam in his name. When the military came knocking again after graduation, fate and his father's resources intervened. A diagnosis of bone spurs by two doctors, who happened to be tenants in Fred Trump's buildings, secured him a medical exemption, sparing him from the war. Thus, his course was set. The family business he had returned to reluctantly would, fueled by his ambition, eventually become his greatest passion. At this early stage of his career, Trump received what he called a small loan from his father, an amount that would be worth approximately $8 million in today's money. Yet, this sum was merely a starting point for his colossal ambitions. In 1971, at the young age of 25, he took the helm of his father's real estate empire and made his first strategic move, renaming the company the Trump Organization, forever intertwining the brand with his own name. However, what truly shaped Trump's worldview wasn't the files in his father's office, but a poignant scene he witnessed at a bridge opening. During the inauguration ceremony of the massive Verrazzano Narrows Bridge, which connects Staten Island and Brooklyn, his father Fred Trump sat prominently in the VIP section. Meanwhile, young Donald was down below, amidst the crowd. While chatting with those around him, he realized that the brilliant engineer who had designed this magnificent structure was standing just a few feet away, lost in the crowd, like an ordinary citizen. Trump recounts that moment, which became a life lesson, with these striking words. At that opening, nobody even mentioned the name of the engineer who designed this enormous bridge. That man watched the opening of his own masterpiece silently among the public. In that moment, I realized something very clearly. If you let people treat you however they want, you become a nobody. I wasn't going to be anyone's fool. Everyone would know my name, and I would get the credit I deserved. For Donald Trump, it wasn't just about winning. The real essence was proclaiming that victory to the entire world. Since his childhood, two fundamental elements had become the compass of his life: recognition and attention. In his world, being invisible was synonymous with being non-existent. Trump's philosophy was simple yet unforgiving. If you aren't at the very center of the show, under the glare of the spotlights, you are merely a nobody. Or worse, in his own words, you are a fool.
I think people see me as a fighter. I think people have always seen me as a fighter. They know that I don't take a lot of crap.
The year 1977 marked the beginning of a new era for Trump, both personally and professionally, as he married Czech model Ivana Zelníková. This marriage would produce 3 children who would eventually become integral parts of the family empire. Donald was far too ambitious to settle for merely maintaining the legacy he inherited from his father. His wealth was substantial and his connections were formidable. Yet his insatiable hunger for luxury and prestige locked his sights on a single target: the arena of giants, the heart of New York, Manhattan. In those years, Manhattan was a far cry from the glittering skyline we know today. It more closely resembled a ruin. Despite being considered the city's most prestigious borough, neglect and economic stagnation had set the bar incredibly low. While most investors were terrified of pouring capital into a declining area, Trump saw this void as an opportunity. With immense enthusiasm, he began making the visionary moves that others lacked the courage to attempt. He acquired old, decaying buildings one by one, transforming them into flamboyant palaces of gold leaf, glass, and steel. Finally, as the calendar turned to 1983, he launched one of the most iconic projects in the real estate world, Trump Tower. Standing 58 stories high and reaching 202 meters, this structure was an instant hit with the public. The building possessed a style uniquely its own. While the lower floors housed high-end boutiques, restaurants, and offices, the upper levels were reserved for opulent, luxury residences. Yet the person who loved it most was Donald Trump himself. Not only had he reaped immense profits, but he had also solidified his place at the top. For him, this wasn't just real estate, it was a sanctuary dedicated to his own name. The success of this project was so profound that eventually, Trump Towers were constructed in 11 different locations worldwide, including Istanbul. Over time, Trump continued to execute massive projects across various regions, particularly in New York, consistently gaining fame. He built luxury casinos, ice rinks, golf courses, hotels, and skyscrapers. On every project he completed, he inscribed his name in gold letters, not metaphorically, but literally, in bold, gold-colored Trump lettering. Starting with a men's clothing collection focused on ties, Trump expanded into a branded magazine, vodka, wine, a board game, and bottled water. Every product featured either his name or his face. His next power move was acquiring Eastern Shuttle and promptly rebranding it as Trump Shuttle. Trump's fame reached such heights that he appeared on 87 magazine covers over 15 years, but this was part of a calculated, stealthy strategy. As he climbed the business ladder, Trump engaged in numerous illicit activities. He practiced racial discrimination in real estate, refusing to rent to black tenants. He allegedly used mob ties to intimidate opponents, and utilized his casinos for money laundering. He was a tax evader who manipulated financial data to secure bank loans. However, he needed a narrative that painted him as brilliant and hardworking. He once remarked, "I play to people's fantasies. Not everyone can think big, but I do. People love to believe that such stories exist. That's why a little hyperbole never hurts." Trump didn't tell the truth. He told people what they wanted to hear. He weaponized the media, through money or deceit, to sell his self-written legend. The tabloid press acted as his personal mouthpiece. His personal life was no different. He cheated on his first wife Ivana with Marla Maples, leading to a high-profile divorce. A year later, he married Marla, and their daughter Tiffany was born. Instead of hiding the scandal, Trump leaned into it, embracing the motto, "There is no such thing as bad publicity." Trump was determined to write his own rules, and he took this ambition to a whole new level. Using the pseudonym John Barron, he would personally call journalists to leak glowing but fabricated rumors about himself. He had effectively become his own PR agent. As a side note, it is no coincidence that his son is named Barron today. Evidently, Trump had always been captivated by this fictional persona and the power it projected. One of his targets using this fake identity was a Forbes editor responsible for compiling the list of the world's wealthiest people. The mysterious John Barron would alter his voice over the phone, claiming that Donald Trump's net worth was a staggering $100 million. Incredible as it seems, this cunning ruse worked. Trump successfully made the Forbes list that year. But was he actually that rich? The answer is short and simple: absolutely not. The fortune marketed to the outside world as $100 million was, in reality, a mere $5 million. You might be wondering, how could a man who owned massive skyscrapers have only $5 million in his pocket? This was precisely where the gilded mask began to slip. By the early 1990s, Trump's empire was actually struggling to survive in a quagmire of debt. Despite attempts to conceal the situation, his companies filed for Chapter 11, bankruptcy protection 6 times. The airline he had acquired with such high hopes failed to stay airborne and went bust. During that period, it was revealed that the Trump Organization owed a mind-boggling $4 billion to more than 70 different banks. Faced with this mountain of debt, Trump simply refused to pay the workers, contractors, and agencies that built his empire. By the end of this 9-year turbulence, Trump's businesses had lost a total of $1.2 billion. Yet, in his eyes, there was no problem. No matter how massive the loss, Trump never admitted defeat. He continued to appear before the public as the invincible, wealthy, and ultra-successful tycoon, because he knew that the public wasn't in love with the truth, but with the grand story they wanted to hear.
I'm really rich. I win.
You always win.
To this day, the true extent of Donald Trump's net worth remains an enigma. However, one fact stands out as clear as day. For nearly the entirety of the last decade, Trump paid virtually no federal income taxes. What is even more striking is this. In the year Donald Trump was elected president, he paid a total of only $750 in taxes. Yes, just $750. To help you grasp the magnitude of this gap, consider his predecessor. Barack Obama paid $1.8 million in taxes during his first year in office. Yet the most scandalous truths about Trump were not his unpaid taxes, his lies, or the massive debts he refused to settle. As one editor summarized his lifestyle, some might find it normal for a media figure who spent most of his life swimming in luxury and glamour to be a bit of a womanizer. But when you look at Trump's past, what you find isn't just a story of womanizing, it's a far darker picture of perversion. A defining element of the glitzy public image Trump projected was the constant presence of women surrounding him. Owning the Miss Universe pageant gave him the keys to this world. So much so that his uninvited visits to the contestants' dressing rooms moments before the show began eventually became a disturbing tradition.
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show. They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women.
Yet behind this flamboyant storefront lay a much darker reality. To date, no fewer than 26 women have accused Donald Trump of sexual misconduct. But the most unsettling part went even further than these allegations. In 1993, Tiffany Trump was born, the daughter of Marla Maples, the woman Trump had an affair with, while still married to his first wife, Ivana. The disturbing part, however, was how Trump would later speak about his own young daughter on camera, using language so bizarre it left audiences in shock.
She's really a beautiful baby, and she's got Marla's legs. We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet, but time will.
When this chilling pattern is traced back further, it becomes clear that these unsettling remarks were not limited to Tiffany. Similar comments had been made repeatedly about his eldest daughter Ivanka as well.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Stop it! Oh, it's so weird! Stop
You know
it.
what? You are.
Footage from 1992 found in the NBC archives.
Donald Trump's web of dark connections extended as far as the world-shaking Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Official reports revealed that Epstein was a frequent guest at Trump's luxurious Mar-a-Lago club, proving that the two frequently crossed paths at this private estate. When the calendars hit 1999, Trump divorced Marla Maples, and a few years later he tied the knot with Slovenian model Melania Knavs, whom he met at a party. Melania, 24 years his junior and still holding the title of First Lady today, gave birth to their son, Baron, in 2006. However, the allegations that followed were chilling. It was alleged that while Melania was still in her postpartum period and Baron was only 4 months old, Trump had an affair with adult film star Stormy Daniels. It was later documented that a $130,000 hush money payment was made to Daniels to keep the scandal from coming to light, in a clear attempt to bury the story. Moreover, this was merely the tip of the iceberg regarding Trump's legal record. According to U.S.A. Today reports, Donald Trump and his businesses have been parties to at least 3,500 different federal and state lawsuits over the last 30 years. Now, we come to the ultimate question. How did a man surrounded by such grave accusations, scandals, and thousands of legal battles manage to claim the most powerful seat in the world, the presidency of the United States? And remarkably, he did it twice. The massive image Trump built over time became a powerful magnet, particularly for the American middle class. What set him apart from his rivals was this. Despite coming from an ultra-wealthy dynasty, he was one of those rare billionaires who could truly connect with the common man. Trump possessed the stature to hold court with world leaders at diplomatic tables, yet he was flexible enough to blend into a casual sports conversation in the humblest neighborhoods. His formula was a potent mix of a luxurious lifestyle, a fame that blurred the lines between fantasy and reality, a unique persona, and most importantly, an unshakable self-confidence. This charismatic blend sparked deep admiration across vast segments of society. However, for Donald Trump, this wasn't enough. He didn't just want a specific group to know him. He wanted every single person to recognize and talk about him. Trump was not just a businessman or a master marketer, he was a professional showman. And I don't use the term showman as a metaphor. He was literally the star of his own television show. Between 2000 and 2004, a period when his business ventures were spiraling downward, Trump made the strategic move that would halt the collapse of his companies and took his first definitive step into the world of television.
New York City, it's the benchmark for success. Believe me, I know. My name is Donald Trump, and I'm the largest developer in New York.
In 2004, Donald Trump met with Mark Burnett, the legendary architect of the Survivor format, for a dinner that would alter the course of television history. This meeting was the first step toward the reality show The Apprentice, which would transform Trump's fading image into a global phenomenon. The show's premise was ingenious. Trump appeared on screen as the big boss figure, an unshakable and authoritative leader presiding over a massive business empire. According to the competition's concept, ambitious candidates chasing their dream careers competed fiercely to impress Trump himself and secure a prestigious position within his empire. As the lead, Trump was essentially conducting a high-stakes job interview in front of millions. At the end of each episode, he would eliminate a contestant with a cold-blooded demeanor, delivering the famous line that soon became a cultural icon.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're all fired. You're fired. Go.
This catchphrase, which became the signature of the program, was on everyone's lips at the time, turning into a national slogan. Surprisingly, this formula hit the mark perfectly, creating a massive wave of popularity in the television world. Storming the screens for 13 years, this show kept audiences captivated for 15 seasons and 192 episodes. Having fully adjusted to the glare of the spotlight, Trump never compromised on his sharp persona over the years. On the contrary, while polishing his brand's prestige, He reinforced the image of the ruthless and successful businessman in the minds of the public with every episode. In hindsight, it seemed as if he were born for this role, yet in reality, this glittering stage was nothing more than a grand rehearsal on the road to the White House. In fact, Trump had dipped his toes into the idea of a presidential run several times in the past. However, following this television success, he felt more prepared than ever before. The time for talk was over. The time for action had arrived. The ultimate arena, the political stage, now stood directly before him. During the 2008 election cycle, Trump made a provocative move by questioning the legitimacy of Barack Obama, America's first black president. Claiming that Obama was not actually a natural-born citizen, he demanded the public release of his birth certificate.
We have to look at it. We have to see, is it real?
I would like to have him show his birth certificate.
Under this pressure, Obama eventually released his long-form birth certificate. However, rather than a victory for Trump, this move brought him accusations of racism and earned him the animosity of large segments of the public. 7 years had passed since that tense period when the big day finally arrived, June 16, 2015.
I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
When Trump announced his run for the presidency, everyone had a single question in mind: why? Trump gave a famous response that perhaps most clearly summarizes his political persona and his passion for popularity today. The way I look at it, I have a lot of wealthy friends, but nobody in the world knows who they are. In the early days of his candidacy, the media and the public mocked him. No one took the move seriously. Yet, he turned a deaf ear to all the criticism and pushed forward with unshakable conviction. When the calendars hit November 8, 2016, the world was in shock. Donald Trump had been elected the 45th President of the United States. Throughout his 4-year term, he carried out his duties by implementing decisions according to his own truths, maintaining his place in the White House. Throughout his term, Trump portrayed a leader who defied conventions, becoming the president of firsts. Taking a step no one else dared, he went down in history as the first sitting U.S. president to shake hands with the North Korean leader. He didn't stop there. He signed off on radical moves that pushed the boundaries of American foreign policy. He recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, unilaterally withdrew from the Paris Climate Agreement, and launched a massive trade war with China that shook global balances. He was even the one who sat down with the Taliban to end the 20-year occupation of Afghanistan, initiating the withdrawal process for American troops. However, the series of firsts for Trump would continue even after his presidency ended. After a turbulent 4-year term, he ran for office again to keep his seat, but this time his rival Joe Biden emerged victorious. Trump supporters, refusing to accept this defeat, stormed the Capitol building in Washington to protest the election results. Following these events, Trump faced accusations of incitement to insurrection and went on record as the first president in American history to be impeached twice. Yet, for him, the real blow came not from the law, but from the digital world. Tech giants like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram suspended Trump's accounts indefinitely. Thus, Donald Trump became the first president to be both twice impeached and digitally erased. Perhaps the irony lay right there. For a man who spent his entire life striving to be visible and to address the masses, being silenced was the heaviest blow that could be dealt. Donald Trump was, in essence, a literal reflection of the American character. He moved with an unyielding desire to always be at the forefront and always remain visible. You only need to look at those famous moments where he shook hands with world leaders to understand his dominant personality. Let's face it, at times he had a rather off-putting demeanor. his habit of gripping a hand and not letting go, pulling the person slightly toward him, and his condescending gaze that seemed almost mocking, and of course that unique, sometimes even comical image created by his famous wavy hair. But when we look at the Joe Biden era, the saying, "You don't know what you've got till it's gone," found its perfect match. Perhaps Trump's greatest stroke of luck was that Biden took the presidential seat after him. Biden cut the image of a lackluster president who didn't quite fit the profile of a powerful, deterrent, and decisive American state. He became a strange figure who hit the global headlines more for his robotic movements, endless gaffes, and stumbles on stairs than for his policies. While Trump was always at the center of the stage, Biden seemed pushed to the sidelines. This was a difficult pill to swallow for the charisma of a superpower like America. The American people seemed to miss the aggressive, ready to burst, and "I am here" presence of Trump. In fact, Trump had already hit the campaign trail as soon as his first presidency ended. The slogan from his first election, "Make America Great Again," found an even stronger resonance in people's minds during this uncertain period. The night of November 5th, 2024. He emerged victorious once again from a fierce battle against Joe Biden's successor, Vice President Kamala Harris. Against all odds, Donald Trump made his comeback and succeeded in becoming the 47th President of the United States. We are truly witnessing a story of sheer perseverance. Overcoming every obstacle in his path, Donald Trump took the oath of office on January 20th, 2025, officially beginning his term. Yet, this inauguration was far more than a mere ceremony. It was a strategic message embedded with the codes of the era to come. When we look back at history, the stage was always a walk of fame. At Obama's inauguration, world-renowned icons like Beyoncé, Aretha Franklin, and Tom Hanks were at the forefront. Similarly, Biden's ceremony featured global stars like Lady Gaga and Jennifer Lopez in the spotlight. However, with the start of Trump's second term, the picture has fundamentally shifted. Launched under the slogan, "The Golden Age of the United States begins now," this historic gathering saw the spotlight turn away from artists and onto the world's wealthiest titans of capital. In truth, this election cycle witnessed scenes so intriguing and at times so absurd that they will not soon be forgotten. Elon Musk's performance, in particular, was an event in itself. According to Forbes data, Musk, the richest man in the world, virtually exhausted himself for Trump's campaign. His exuberant and occasionally awkward antics at rallies left many wondering, should he have ever stepped into politics at all? But Musk was not alone at that inauguration. From the giants of the tech world, the CEOs of Google, Apple, Amazon, Meta, and TikTok, to India's wealthiest billionaire, Mukesh Ambani, a massive force of global capital was present. This image was the clearest indication that Trump intends to lead the world, not just through diplomacy, but through the power of money. As one of the most unique figures in modern history, Donald Trump sits in that most powerful seat once again today, in spite of all his rivals and opponents. After everything that has been told, some of you have strengthened your admiration for Trump, while others have renewed your hatred for him. However, regardless of the feelings involved, there is only one ultimate truth. Only those who throw in the towel are considered defeated. Those who continue at any cost eventually reach victory. This man who remained in the midst of scandals time and again, returned from the brink of bankruptcy, was belittled, mocked, ignored, and constantly under a hail of fire. What do you think about this monument of perseverance who, in spite of those who did not take him seriously, rewrote the rules of the game every time, achieved every impossible thing one by one, and has no other possibility but winning in his vocabulary?